guys, and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video I thought I would do a video showing you some things that I have implemented into my life that help with being autistic and executive functioning. I've struggled all my life with executive functioning, and if you don't know what I mean by executive functioning is basically the ability to manage emotions, organise and plan, pay attention to things, start tasks and remain focused on them, and things like that. So for an autistic person, I am constantly struggling with executive functioning issues, and a lot of that can mean that things might get behind, I end up disorganised. So these are a few things that I've implemented into my life just to make things easier for my executive functioning. So I'm starting off in my kitchen because I want to show you something that I find really useful, and this is basically all about point of performance. Now, point of performance basically means that whatever you're doing, whatever task you're doing, everything you need for that task is within reach, within hand's reach. So for example, I'm over here, I've got my kettle right here, I want to make a drink, right? So I can turn around and fill it up with my tap, put it on, open my cupboard, grab a mug from my cupboard, grab my hot chocolate from my cupboard, get the milk, and I've barely even moved. So my alarm just went off, and I set alarms for a lot of things. One thing that I can really struggle with due to executive functioning is remembering to eat and drink. So for as long as I can remember, I have always really struggled to remember to drink water. And so I have reminders set on my phone every hour that pops up that says drink water, and so it reminds me, even if I don't necessarily always follow the reminders, it reminds me, oh yeah, I haven't drunken anything in a while, I should drink some water. So that's really handy. So one thing I've really found that I find really useful is having things on show. Now, I don't like to be cluttered, it stresses me out, but I've also come to realise that if things aren't out for me to see, I won't think about them. So something that is really important for me to remember is to take my vitamins, and I never remember to take them. Why is that? Because I keep them in a cupboard where I'm never going to remember to look in that cupboard every morning to take a vitamin. So I now have them on top of my bread, which I have at breakfast. So I remember to take them every morning because I see them and think, I need to take a vitamin pill. Things like that are really helpful, because if it's hidden away in a cupboard, I'm not going to think about it, and that's not good. So another thing I also find really helpful is, again, having things easily visible and easily accessible. So I have a shared recycling with my neighbours, and when I use something in the kitchen and I'm finished with it and it has a wrapper or a box or whatever it came in, I am not always going to want to go all the way outside to put something in the recycling and then come back again. So this is what I have. So this is literally a box, and so I can be cooking in the kitchen. Oh, I've got a cardboard box that I finished with from my cereal, and then I can put it into that box for recycling, and when the box gets filled up, I can then take it outside to the main recycling and do the whole process again. But the thing I like about having a box right there to hand is that I can see when it gets filled up, and then I think, I need to take the recycling out. Whereas when I used to have the box all the way at the other end of my house, I wasn't always remembering to put stuff in it or to take it out, or to check when it needed taking out. So having it in the kitchen where I'm actually, where I've got all the recycling being used, it's so much more easier to have it so close by, if that makes sense. And another thing you might have seen by my recycling is I have like a little wall of notes just there. sticky notes. So if you've been a long time subscriber on my channel, you will know that I used to do a lot of bullet journal videos, and I don't do that anymore because it's not what I find helps me the most. And so I've realised for me, and I know this probably seems a bit drastic to a lot of people, but, and I'm sure a lot of these things probably will, but for a neurodivergent person like myself, these things can be really, really helpful. And so I found that actually, for me to not get stressed and overwhelmed with things, I need to see everything. So when I say everything, I mean I can't just know what's happening this week or this month. I need to see everything in the year. So what I do is every time an important date gets thrown at me, so when I say important date, I mean like my cousin's wedding, or even things like I'm going to the cinema on that day and I don't want to forget that. I write them down on a sticky note and then I stick it on my sticky note wall, and so I can always see it so that I'm walking past it and I'm not going to forget these dates because they're always visible. Because the problem is, if I write them on my phone, that's fine, I've written them down, but I'm not always going to remember to check my phone to check the dates. It's just handy to have that there because I can see them all in one place, and I'll be like, no, I'm not doing anything on that day, because if it was important, I would write it down. So that's something I find really, really helpful. So I've just shown you my wall of sticky notes, but something else I find really, really helpful is sticky note stations stationed around my house. Stationed, that's a tongue twister. But I get really easily overwhelmed and stressed because I've always got like loads of thoughts going on in my head constantly. And when people tell me things and I'm thinking, I'm going to have to remember this, it gets really stressful. So writing them down is really helpful, but like I said, I don't always remember to check things on my phone when I write them down, and having them all in the same place and written down the same way is just so much simpler for me, because I'll think it will be on a sticky note, not I wonder if I wrote it in a notebook or on a sticky note or maybe on my phone, or maybe I put it somewhere and on a sleek piece of paper, and that can just get really complicated and stressful. So having them all one way is really helpful. So I've got, you can see here, a sticky note and a pen on my table, and that's handy for me because I'm often sat on my sofa, and so having something in the areas where I am the most is really helpful. I also have one on my desk. I've also got one on my bedside table because when I'm in bed, sometimes I think of things as I'm going to sleep, and it helps me to write them down so I'm not constantly worrying that I won't remember it by the morning, and I'm not constantly repeating it over and over in my head whilst I'm trying to get to sleep, which can be exhausting. So something else I also find really helpful is having multiples of things. Now, I'm going to show you a few things. The first one is having multiple phone chargers dotted around. So I have a charger right down there in that plug socket. I also keep a charger in my bag at all times, because the problem I have, when I had one charger, I was constantly bringing it upstairs, plugging it in, and then coming downstairs, my phone would get low on battery, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, my charger's upstairs, because I'd forget to bring it with me. So I've got one by my sofa, I've got one in my bag, which I take out with me wherever I go, so that if I'm at a meeting or at work and my phone gets low on battery, which it quite often does because I'm constantly listening to music or podcasts or watching videos on my phone, then I can charge it wherever I am. But the third place I have a charger is upstairs. In my bedroom, because then I can charge my phone while I'm in bed, or if I'm working on the landing, I can have it in charge in here and not have to keep going up and down constantly, which is really handy. And like I was saying about having one in my bag, there's also something else I have in all my bags, which I find helpful. So I keep a deodorant on my bathroom windowsill so that when I get out my shower, I will remember to put it on. Because you will see a running theme here. If I don't see something, I won't think about it or remember to do it. So having a deodorant there I find really helpful. But sometimes there are those times where it goes out my mind and I just completely forget to put it on. And in that instance, I have one in every single bag. Ding! Oh yeah. Haha! Gotcha. You can tell I like this brand because I have a lot of them. And of course SpongeBob has one too. Because let me tell you, there is nothing worse than arriving somewhere, especially in this hot weather we've been having at the moment, and being all hot and sweaty and not having deodorant or forgetting to put it on before you leave. So I have one in every bag. You can see me in the mirror. But another thing is having 2 sets of toothbrushes and toothpaste. And I actually really want to get a 3rd one to have in my bag, because sometimes I'm in such a rush in the mornings that it goes out my mind, I completely forget to brush my teeth, which obviously isn't good. So having one on hand, for example, if I'm going to work and I forget to brush my teeth, I can brush them when I get to work, that's fine. So that'd be really useful. So I've got that set, and this guy here. How cute is he? I've also got this squeezy toothpaste thing that my friend gave me. It's so cool. I saw them online and I wasn't sure really how they worked. And if they were one of those like naff knockoff things that don't really work, but they are great. And yeah, just having 2 of them means that, again, I'm not constantly having to go up and down to get things. So for example, sometimes I'll go downstairs in the morning and I'll be like, oh no, I'm in a rush and I need to go back up and brush my teeth. Wait, no I don't, because there's a set right in my toilet by my front door. How handy is that? So the last thing I'm going to show you that I have duplicates of is washing baskets. And this literally arrived today before I started filming this, which I'm so happy about because I really wanted to do this video. And this is my washing basket, and I have 2 of these, one in my bathroom and one in my bedroom. Now, the reason I have 2 washing baskets is quite simply because I used to have one in my bedroom, and I was quite often finding that I would get changed in the bathroom. And then of course, I would not have anywhere to put my clothes in the bathroom. So I was like, well, it makes much more sense to have my washing basket in the bathroom. So I moved my washing basket to my bathroom, and I don't even know how or why this happened, but then all of a sudden I find myself changing in my bedroom right before I get into bed. So I was going, what is going on? So I inevitably decided that I need 2 washing baskets so that no matter what room I'm in, I will have somewhere to put my clothes, and then when I take them down to the washing machine, which is downstairs, I can just collect stuff from both the bins and take it down all together. So, on to the next thing. So I want to talk about something else that I recently invested in, which is my, I'm not good at pointing backwards, my Amazon Alexa. So I was umming and ahhing for ages about whether to get an Alexa or not, so I just did it, and it's been really helpful. For example, last Saturday I asked it to remind me that I had a Zoom on Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and so at 4 o'clock at Tuesday afternoon she reminded me. And yes, it did make me jump because I forgot that I had set a reminder, but it was very handy because if she hadn't have announced it, I probably would have forgotten completely and got so fixated on something that I would have missed it. So it's really handy for things like that. I can say, Alexa, add milk to my shopping list.
You already have milk on your shopping list.
Okay, that was a bad example because it was already on my list, but you get the point. And I can say add a date to my calendar, or I can like look things up with Alexa and I just find it really helpful for maybe moments when I don't have access to a sticky note, or I just need to write down something. I can ask Alexa to do it, so that's really helpful. I can set alarms with it for when I'm cooking food, and it's just really helpful, so I would definitely recommend getting one. And I also just want to say, filming this video has been really helpful because it's forced me to tidy up, especially because this next one is sort of all about tidying up. So yeah, let's get on to the last thing. So this is currently my coffee table, and yes, what a state it is in. And something I find really useful is a box. Some might call it a really useful box. And I will show you why. Okay, before I get into this next segment, I just want to have a real talk with you. Are you being realistic with yourself? Are you setting goals that aren't realistic? For example, trying to live up to someone's standards of where they tell you you should be or what you should be doing at your time in your life, when actually, in fact, everyone is different and everyone has different ways that help them and different things that work in their life and things that don't work in their life. And it's important to remember that you are neurodivergent, and that is going to take a lot more time and support and different ways of thinking to a neurotypical person. And we shouldn't be ashamed or made to feel bad because of that. We should use different strategies to only strengthen our different way of thinking and different way of coping in this world. So for example, I use boxes around my house to help declutter and to marginally stay organised. I think when I moved into this place, I set unrealistic expectations of, I love things to be clean and organised and stress-free. I don't like clutter and lots of things on show. However, I then soon came to realise that in order to function, I need to see things constantly and have things out so that I remember to do them and think about them. So it's about finding that balance. And it's also important to not feel ashamed and feel bad for not being able to do things the way neurotypical people would, or do as much as neurotypical people would, because we have executive functioning struggles and that's not your fault. So this is something that is a compromise between being cluttered and disorganised and being organised. Let me show you. So you saw how my coffee table was before, right? I put everything that was cluttering the table into a box. Now it looks a lot more tidier. Why? Because everything is contained in that one box. For example, if I have people coming round and I want to get rid of the clutter, well, I can take the box. Voila, it's a tidy table. And when I feel able to, I can sort through the box and properly put the stuff away. It's also really important to recognise where the areas are in your house that tend to get the most cluttered without you even realising it. So I find that I sort of dump a lot of stuff on my table, and that is ideally not where I want to be dumping stuff, but it just sort of happens that way. And so I put a box on my table. No, it doesn't look nice with place settings and coasters laid out already, but it works for me. And when I want to eat at the table, I can take the box away and lay it for dinner. I then also have a box at the bottom of my stairs. Now this one I fill with stuff that I want to take upstairs. And oh look, what's this? Another box at the top of my stairs that I can put the stuff into. And yes, I know what you're thinking, but why don't you just put the stuff away where it's supposed to go? Well, I'm going to have another real talk with you and say that sometimes it's okay not to feel able to do a whole task. And I know that kind of seems like, oh well, you're just being lazy, like try more, like oh, like you could just, you know, it's literally in the next room and put it away. Well, sometimes even just accomplishing part of a task is a really good start. And if it's all you do, then it's better than not even starting the task at all. And sometimes it helps to break tasks down into smaller steps. So you're not doing it all at once, you're just doing it bit by bit until gradually the task gets done. And I find that much easier than overwhelming myself thinking, I've got to put all this away and I'm not sure I have the energy to do that. Cool, I really have been all over my house for this video. You sort of got like a mini tour, I guess. But those are some things I do, living a life, being autistic, that help me with executive functioning struggles and just in general to stay somewhat organised. I'm not going to say completely organised, and slightly less stressed than I would have been without these things in place. So let me know in the comments down below if you do any of these things and if you find them helpful, or what things you do in your life that really help you stay less stressed and overwhelmed and feeling on track of things. And also, if you found any of this helpful, let me know what you think you will try and help you get back on track. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, ding, 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 to receive notifications every time I upload a new video, and I will see you next time.